Hello. Tonight, we journey backward through the heavy mists of time, standing together upon a silent peninsula where the roots of Western civilization sleep quietly beneath modern soil. You breathe in the cool, salted air of the Aegean Sea, watching the dark waves gently kiss the limestone cliffs under a vast, beautiful blanket of ancient, unblinking stars. It is the perfect place to rest. The soft wind whispers through dense groves of prehistoric oak trees, rustling their heavy leaves with a slow, rhythmic pulse that feels exactly like the breathing of the world itself. You notice how the moonlight stretches across the jagged ridges of the Peloponnese, transforming the rugged landscape into a peaceful canvas of silver and deep, velvet shadows. The entire earth seems completely at peace. It feels as though time has slowed down to a complete crawl here, letting you easily forget the frantic pace of your modern daily life. Even the local crickets seem to understand the assignment tonight, chirping in a perfectly steady, relaxing cadence that acts like a natural metronome for your thoughts. You can feel your mind slowing down with them in the quiet darkness. So before you get completely comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel, but only if you truly enjoy what we're creating here. If you feel like sharing your presence, please leave a brief comment below with your current physical location and the local time so we can connect. Now slowly dim the lights. Perhaps turn on a fan, letting the steady hum of the air fill the room. And in that gentle rhythm, we quietly step into tonight's journey together. Your eyes adjust to the beautiful darkness of this ancient peninsula, where the towering limestone mountains stand as quiet, monumental gatekeepers of secrets that are millions of years old. These massive geological formations did not appear overnight, as tectonic plates ground together with the excruciating patience of a slow-moving dial-up internet connection. Instead, the Earth shifted with an unhurried, natural majesty that mirrors the deep, calming rhythm of your own slow, resting breath tonight. Through countless millennia, heavy rains and patient winds carved out the fertile valleys below, slowly creating the perfect cradle for humanity to eventually wake up and build magnificent dreams. You can almost feel the tremendous weight of those passing eras, settling softly over the quiet landscape like a thick, comfortable quilt that warmly encourages you to completely rest your weary mind. The ancient Earth has done all the heavy lifting, leaving you completely safe. Archaeological evidence reliably shows that humans have inhabited these exact valleys since the deep Neolithic era, recognizing the great practical value of this sun-drenched sanctuary. Early families gathered wild grains and hunted in the oak forests, leaving behind simple stone tools that modern scientists now discover tucked away in dusty museum drawers. This long, continuous human presence brings a deep sense of enduring stability and profound peace to the entire historic peninsula. The sweeping Argolid plain gradually emerged as the undisputed crown jewel of these early communities, offering incredibly rich soil and excellent protection from the temperamental coastal winds. It was an ancient real estate paradise, providing everything a small family needed to survive without the modern complications of mortgage rates, expensive utility bills, and property taxes. The people lived in complete harmony with the land, wanting nothing more than what the soil naturally provided. You imagine the very first farmers planting primitive crops in the dark, damp earth, their hands connecting deeply with a fertile soil that would eventually support great kings. The steady, unbroken cycle of planting and harvesting established a calm, predictable rhythm of life that echoed the changing seasons with beautiful, comforting predictability. There was no need to rush the growth of the seeds, just as there is absolutely no need to rush your sleep. As the centuries rolled onward like a slow, majestic river, these scattered farming villages began to realize the immense benefits of permanent cooperation and closer social alignment. They willingly shared their deep knowledge of agriculture and pottery, creating much stronger communal bonds that successfully transformed simple shelters into enduring neighborhoods under the warm Mediterranean sun. This gentle growth created a beautifully stable way of country life. This growing unity laid the quiet, unshakable foundations for an incredibly cooperative future society that would blossom beautifully across the entire landscape. The people discovered that working together in harmony brought a profound sense of security that single families could never achieve alone. You can feel this ancient peace settling over your mind tonight, letting you rest with a deep, comforting sense of absolute safety. The quiet landscape began to shift ever so slightly as families moved from the low plains up toward the natural defensive advantages of the rugged, rocky hillsides. You observe the initial humble foundations of what would eventually become the legendary fortified citadels, though right now they are just simple stone walls catching the evening dew. This strategic movement marked a significant peaceful transition in how humans interacted with their natural environment. The transition from fragile mud brick huts to sturdy, permanent stone architecture marked the silent dawn of a magnificent new Bronze Age dawn for the entire peninsula. This monumental architectural shift was the ancient equivalent of upgrading your modern smartphone, bringing much better structural security, higher social status, and significantly improved long-term durability to the growing community. Every single stone placed represented a deliberate step toward an enduring, prosperous future. A wonderful sense of security began to settle over the fertile Argolid Valley, allowing the early inhabitants to sleep peacefully through the cool, dark Mediterranean nights. They completely trusted the strong stone walls protecting their families, just as you can safely trust the heavy blankets and the gentle darkness surrounding your bed right now. You are entirely safe from the world, beautifully insulated within your own quiet evening sanctuary. The gentle rustle of the wind through the oak leaves reminds you that these identical natural forces have witnessed every single chapter of our long human story. The ancient trees do not rush their growth, and the towering mountains do not hurry their silent watch, reminding us that there is absolutely no need to rush tonight either. Time stretches out comfortably before you, inviting you to slow down completely. You feel yourself sinking much deeper into a state of total serene relaxation as the ancient Greek landscape prepares itself for the arrival of the great stone kingdoms. The historic stage is beautifully set, the weary actors are sleeping soundly, and the grand flow of historical time continues its quiet, irresistible march into the deep night. Let your mind drift away completely into the peaceful, comforting darkness. The vast Argolid plain opens before you in the soft evening light, spreading out like a woven carpet of muted green and dusty gold. You see the earliest villages nesting quietly along the low hillsides, their humble mud brick homes blending perfectly into the natural landscape. Smoke from small cooking fires drifts lazily into the warm air, signaling that the evening chores are finished and the time for peaceful rest has finally arrived. Down in the small valley plains, thousands of silver-green olive trees stand in perfect, quiet rows, their leaves shimmering gently whenever the night breeze catches them. These ancient trees have roots that dig deep into the dry earth, patiently gathering the hidden moisture of the ground to produce their rich, valuable oil. You can feel the incredible endurance of this quiet landscape, which asks for nothing but time to fulfill its natural promises. Nearby, a large flock of thick-wooled sheep move slowly across the gentle slopes, their quiet bells making a soft, rhythmic clinking sound in the deepening twilight. The tired shepherd walks slowly behind them, guided by nothing but the ancient, familiar paths his ancestors walked for many generations before him. It seems that even the sheep understand the quiet nature of this valley, moving with a calm coordination that resembles a slow, drifting cloud. The entire valley lives by a predictable, natural breathing cycle, alternating between the bright, dry summer months and the cool, refreshing rains of the Mediterranean winter season. This constant, rhythmic repetition of the changing seasons provides a deep sense of security, ensuring that the natural world remains utterly stable and entirely dependable. The people do not worry about tomorrow because the steady pulse of the earth has never failed to provide for their basic needs. You observe how this natural stability allowed these early human communities to thrive quietly, slowly, gathering strength and resources long before the great city-states ever existed. No crowded, noisy streets exist here, and nobody is rushing to catch trains or check overflowing modern smartphone inboxes. Everything happens in its own correct time, moving as slowly and deliberately as the magnificent stars turning in the night sky. Archaeological excavations in this peaceful region have recently uncovered beautiful painted pottery shards that reveal a fascinating secret about these quiet, isolated agricultural communities. The ancient layers of earth show that these early farmers were not entirely cut off from the wider Mediterranean world. Despite their simple, rustic lifestyle, they were quietly building deep, meaningful connections with distant lands, long before anyone had ever invented modern navigation systems or international passports. Sophisticated chemical analysis of these ancient ceramic vessels proves that the early inhabitants of the Argolid were actively trading with the Grand Minoan civilization on Crete. Valuable obsidian stones from the nearby island of Melos and delicate goods from Asia Minor have been discovered tucked deep inside the ruins of these humble villages. It seems the ancient world possessed its own highly efficient version of global shipping, though it moved at a delightfully slow human pace. You can imagine small wooden boats gliding smoothly across the calm Aegean Sea, carrying precious cargoes of olive oil, thick wool, and finely crafted pottery vessels. The sailors watched the stars for guidance, steering their fragile ships through the gentle waves with the same deep patience that you feel right now. This early maritime commerce connected the quiet valleys of Greece to a much larger, incredibly wealthy network of ancient civilizations. As wealth and exotic new ideas slowly filtered back into the Argolid plain, the social fabric of these simple farming communities began to transform quite dramatically. The old, egalitarian villages gradually gave way to more organized systems where certain families took on the heavy responsibility of managing the community's shared resources. It was the ancient version of local government, though thankfully without the endless paperwork and long, boring town hall meetings. You can see the subtle beginnings of this historic shift in the way certain houses were built larger and stronger than the surrounding farm dwellings. These central buildings became the very first storehouses for the community's grain, safeguarding the food supply against the constant threat of a sudden, unpredictable crop failure. The people naturally looked to these secure centers for protection, laying the quiet foundations for a completely new kind of social order. The communal storehouses gradually expanded over the decades, attracting skilled craftsmen who set up their workshops under the shadow of the thick protective walls. Potters, weavers, and early metalworkers gathered in these growing centers, exchanging their specialized skills for a steady share of the rich agricultural harvest. A beautiful cooperative harmony developed between the rural farmers in the fields and the industrious artisans living inside the settlement. This slow concentration of wealth and human talent naturally led the communities to start building more permanent, highly strategic centers of political and economic power. The high, rocky hills that once served as simple places of refuge during times of danger were now chosen as the permanent homes of the rulers. You can feel the quiet excitement of this transformation as the rustic valley slowly prepares itself for a much grander historical era. The humble mud brick walls were gradually replaced by rough stone foundations, marking the true birth of the initial Mycenaean administrative centers on the peninsula. These early citadels were not yet the massive palaces of legend, but they represented a clear, unmistakable determination to endure through the passing centuries. The people were actively shaping their own destiny, carving their permanent mark into the very bones of the Greek landscape. You feel a deep sense of comfort watching this orderly transition from simple nature to organized civilization, recognizing that progress does not have to be chaotic. The rise of these new power centers occurred with the same quiet, irresistible momentum that brings the dawn after a long, dark night. Every stone was placed with careful, deliberate thought, ensuring that the new kingdoms would have incredibly solid foundations. The cool night air carries the distant smell of wild thyme and damp earth from the fertile fields, reminding you of the valley's eternal fertility. The great palaces may come and go, but the quiet rhythm of the Argolid plain remains entirely unchanged through thousands of historical years. You can rest easy knowing that the earth always remembers its oldest, most peaceful patterns of existence. Your mind drifts even deeper into peaceful rest as the quiet builders leave their finished stones beneath a sky filled with gentle stars. The valley settles into perfect silence, timeless and serene, while the soft hum of the universe reminds you that you are safe. As you sleep, the stone kingdoms of Mycenae slowly rise through the calm landscapes of your dreams. The great palace of Mycenae sits majestic and quiet under a pale blue sky, its massive limestone walls absorbing the soft warmth of the morning sun. You walk through the grand entrance, leaving the open fields behind, to enter a remarkably organized world that operates with the steady precision of a fine clockwork mechanism. There is no chaotic shouting or frantic rushing inside these stone courtyards, only the peaceful, low murmur of an empire managing its daily affairs with absolute confidence. Your footsteps echo softly as you pass the extensive network of royal storehouses, where the incredible wealth of the entire kingdom is kept safe and perfectly dry. Huge ceramic jars, tall as a grown man, stand in neat, endless rows along the cool stone corridors, filled to the brim with golden olive oil and sweet, fragrant wine. It is the ancient Bronze Age equivalent of a perfectly organized Costco pantry, ensuring the community will never go hungry during the leanest winter months. Next to the vast food reserves, the palace workshops hum with a gentle, creative energy that fills the air with the comforting sense of melted wax, hot metal, and shaved pine wood. You observe a master craftsman patiently carving a delicate piece of imported ivory, his hands moving with the extreme care of a modern surgeon operating without any digital distractions. Every single artisan here works under the quiet protection of the king, dedicating their life to creating beautiful objects that will outlast their own short lifetimes. In a quiet corner of the central administrative courtyard, a royal scribe sits comfortably on a wooden stool, squinting slightly as he presses a sharp reed stylus into a tablet of wet, gray clay. He works with an impressive focus, carefully recording the exact number of sheep sheared in the distant valleys and the precise gallons of oil delivered this morning. This meticulous bookkeeping creates an atmosphere of complete clarity and total order, proving that a well-run bureaucracy can actually be quite peaceful. These humble, sun-dried clay tablets contain a highly sophisticated writing system that modern historians now call Linear B, consisting of hundreds of tiny, elegant geometric signs and pictorial symbols. For thousands of years, these buried records remained completely silent, keeping their administrative secrets hidden deep beneath the collapsed stones and dark earth of the Peloponnese. It seemed as though the true voice of the Mycenaean people had been permanently erased from the long, complicated memory of human history. However, a magnificent historical breakthrough occurred in the year 1952 when a brilliant young English architect and linguist named Michael Ventris finally cracked the complex code of Linear B. To the absolute astonishment of scholars worldwide, his breakthrough proved that the mysterious inscriptions were actually the oldest written form of the Greek language ever discovered. It was the ancient linguistic equivalent of finding a long-lost family diary hidden away in the deepest corner of a dark, forgotten attic. The successful decipherment of these clay tablets opened a beautiful, wide window into the true scale and remarkable complexity of this ancient Mediterranean civilization. Instead of finding wild romantic poetry or bloody tales of mythological monsters, the tablets revealed a highly practical society obsessed with proper organization and fair resource distribution. You can smile at the modern familiarity of it all, realizing that human nature has always loved keeping receipts and tracking inventories through the centuries. The administrative tablets show that every single person in the kingdom had a recognized place within this grand, peaceful system, from the High King down to the humblest bronze smith. The palace carefully coordinated the distribution of raw materials to the scattered village workshops, ensuring that no resources were ever wasted or left completely unused. It was a perfectly balanced economic ecosystem that allowed thousands of families to live their daily lives with a deep sense of shared purpose. You feel a soothing sense of comfort as you contemplate this high level of ancient order, realizing that these people valued stability just as much as we do today. The palace was not just a fortress for war, it was a grand, peaceful brain that kept the entire body of the kingdom moving in perfect, healthy harmony. The steady rhythm of the scribes writing on clay acts like a gentle lullaby, reminding you that order brings a deep, lasting peace. As the afternoon sun begins its slow descent behind the distant mountains, the palace administrative offices quietly wind down for the day, wrapping the stone corridors in long, cool shadows. The scribes carefully arrange their damp clay tablets on wooden shelves to dry completely in the warm, gentle air, their heavy administrative work finished. You can feel the collective sigh of relief as the palace staff prepares for a quiet evening of well-deserved rest and relaxation. A soft breeze wanders through the open-air courtyards, carrying the sweet aroma of roasting meats and fresh barley bread from the royal kitchens down to the lower town. The residents of the palace gather in the smaller chambers, sharing quiet conversation and soft laughter as the bright stars begin to appear one by one. There are no urgent emails to answer and no late-night news broadcasts to cause stress, only the simple comfort of being safe at home. You look up at the vast evening sky, realizing that the very same stars watched over the Mycenaean kings as they rested inside these identical stone apartments thousands of years ago. The physical palaces have long since crumbled into romantic ruins, but the beautiful language recorded on those fragile clay tablets still connects us to their peaceful world. History is not a cold, dead thing. It is a warm, living thread that binds us all together across time. Your body sinks deeper into the soft mattress as the quiet spirit of the ancient palace surrounds you with a deep feeling of complete safety and total protection. You are perfectly secure in your own modern sanctuary, just as the ancient Greeks were safe behind their monumental walls under the calm Mediterranean night. The heavy, exhausting burdens of the day are completely gone now, leaving only the soft, rhythmic, and comforting breathing of this peaceful world to guide you into rest. The gentle hum of the night continues its steady, comforting song, inviting you to let go of your remaining thoughts and slide quietly into a deep, restorative sleep. Let your mind drift through the cool stone corridors of the past where the ancient kings sleep soundly and the clay tablets preserve the quiet memory of a beautiful world. Tomorrow will bring its own bright light, but tonight is entirely reserved for resting peacefully beneath the calm, timeless skies of the quiet world. The morning sun rises softly over the hills, painting the entire Greek peninsula in warm shades of amber and rose. You follow a master potter as he steps into his quiet workshop, smelling the rich, damp earth that has been gathered from the nearby riverbanks. He sits down at his heavy wooden wheel, kicking it gently to create a steady, hypnotic spin that matches the slow, natural heartbeat of the morning. His hands move with complete confidence, transforming a shapeless lump of clay into a perfectly smooth, elegant storage jar. Outside the village, a young shepherd opens the wooden gate of his pen, letting his large flock stream out onto the dew-covered grass. He walks with a long, smooth stride that shows he is in no hurry at all, carrying a simple wooden staff smoothed by years of daily use. His thoughts drift lazily as he listens to the comforting hum of bees gathering pollen from the wild purple thyme blooming along the rocky hillsides. For him, time is not measured by minutes or hours, but by slow shadows moving across valleys. Down at the narrow coastal harbor, a seasoned oarsman helps his crew pull a long wooden merchant ship onto the sandy shoreline for temporary maintenance. The salt of the Aegean Sea has dried into white patterns on his sun-darkened skin, telling the story of many long voyages under calm Mediterranean skies. He checks the thick ropes and sturdy canvas sails with practiced ease, chatting quietly with local fishermen who are carefully repairing their nets. Every local family lives in perfect alignment with this ancient agricultural calendar, finding a deep sense of peace in the predictable repetition of the natural year. They celebrate the busy autumn harvest with sweet wine and fresh bread, then welcome the quiet winter rains that sink deep into the thirsty soil. This endless circle of life creates an atmosphere where time feels as flat and beautifully still as a mountain lake. You can almost feel the gentle weight of this ancient lifestyle settling over your own mind, washing away the frantic energy of the modern digital world. There are no deadlines to meet here, no alarms buzzing loudly in the dark, and no notifications demanding attention. The ancient Greeks understood that crops grow at their own unique pace. You breathe in this timeless wisdom as you sink deeper into your warm, comfortable bed. Archaeological excavations across the Mediterranean basin have recently revealed that these seemingly quiet, rustic lives were directly connected to a massive international trade network. Deep beneath the sandy floor of the sea, modern divers have discovered the fascinating wrecks of ancient Bronze Age ships packed with precious cargo. These sunken vessels carry hundreds of heavy copper ingots shaped like ox hides, which were mined in the sun-baked hills of distant Cyprus. This extensive trade network functioned like a highly complex puzzle where every single region supplied a unique piece to successfully survive. The Mycenaeans exported beautifully painted pottery jars filled with premium olive oil and scented perfumes to every major Mediterranean port. In return, they received glittering gold from wealthy Egypt, delicate blue glass from the Levant, and rare silver from distant hills, showing that ancient people preferred trading over fighting costly, destructive wars. As these valuable metals and exotic goods flowed continuously into palace storerooms, the economic balance of the entire region shifted dramatically. The kings who controlled major harbor towns and key mountain passes naturally became incredibly wealthy and highly influential throughout the Aegean. They used this newly acquired wealth to hire specialized craftsmen and build much larger administrative centers. This quiet accumulation of power happened slowly, without disrupting the average farmer tending his fields. This subtle shift created a sophisticated network of independent stone kingdoms that cooperated closely while maintaining their own unique identities. They shared a common language, followed similar religious traditions, and used the exact same administrative methods to manage their rich agricultural territories. You can appreciate the quiet intelligence of this political system, which maintained long-term peace through shared economic interests rather than relying on raw, destructive military force or constant conflict. The evening sun now dips below the distant horizon, casting long, peaceful purple shadows across the busy workshops and quiet country farms. The potter covers his unfinished vessels with damp cloths so they stay perfectly workable until the next bright morning comes. The shepherd leads his tired flock back into the safe village fold, counting each animal carefully as they pass through the wooden gate. You can feel the deep, collective satisfaction of a community that has worked hard and earned a night of total relaxation. Inside the cozy stone houses, families gather around small stone hearths to share a simple meal of olives, barley cakes, and goat cheese. They talk in low, gentle voices about the daily events, their laughter mingling with the pleasant crackle of burning olive wood. The children drop off to sleep easily on soft wool blankets, completely secure in the knowledge that their world is stable and well protected. There is an overwhelming sense of safety in this quiet domestic picture, which has remained unchanged for thousands of years. You look out at the dark Aegean Sea, where the distant merchant ships are anchoring in quiet coves to wait out the dark night safely. The brave sailors look up at the familiar constellations, tracking the grand movements of the cosmos that guide their long journeys across the water. The stars shine with a beautiful, cold clarity, reminding everyone that our human lives are small but deeply connected to the universe. History folds its heavy wings for the night, inviting you to join the ancient world in its quiet slumber. Your mind drifts further away from the waking world as the peaceful rhythms of the Bronze Age surround you with total, absolute serenity. You are perfectly safe in your own quiet room, completely disconnected from the noise and confusion of the modern world outside. Let the steady image of the spinning potter's wheel soothe your remaining thoughts, turning them into smooth, peaceful dreams of the past. There is absolutely nothing else you need to focus on tonight except your own calm, resting breath. The soft whisper of the night wind carries the eternal spirit of these ancient workers who built a magnificent civilization out of simple clay and stone. They sleep soundly beneath the fertile Greek soil, but their peaceful way of living still echoes through the long centuries to comfort us tonight. Allow yourself to surrender completely to this deep, restorative darkness, trusting that the morning will bring a fresh new light. Sleep deeply now, wrapped in the timeless, gentle rhythm of a beautiful world that knows exactly how to rest. A gentle morning wind sweeps across the vast expanse of the Aegean Sea, rippling the deep blue water into countless shimmering paths of silver light. You stand upon a high rocky headland, watching how the natural contours of the Greek peninsula reach out into the sea like welcoming stone fingers. This unique geography did not isolate the early kingdoms. Instead, it acted as a magnificent open highway that invited people to explore the wide world beyond. The sea was not an obstacle to overcome, but a loyal partner that shaped the destiny of every family living along the coast. The gradual expansion of Mycenaean influence across the Mediterranean did not happen through sudden, violent military invasions or terrifying armadas of warships. It flowed as naturally and quietly as deep ocean currents that move beneath the surface of the sea, guided entirely by practical economic needs. As the population in the fertile valleys grew over the centuries, the palaces required a steady, dependable supply of raw resources that the mainland simply could not provide. This search for metals and materials created a peaceful network of maritime routes that connected distant harbors together. You can follow a sturdy merchant ship as it sails away from the mainland coast, its square canvas sail billowing softly in the predictable northern breeze. The crew does not rush their journey, understanding that the sea operates on its own ancient timetable and demands absolute patience from those who travel its paths. They steer from one visible island to the next, never losing sight of the reassuring mountain peaks that rise like stone markers out of the blue water. This gentle method of navigation made seafaring feel like a continuous, comfortable conversation between the land and the sea. The main driver behind this expanding maritime network was an insatiable societal hunger for precious bronze materials, luxury items, and exotic timber supplies. To maintain their highly organized way of life, the stone palaces continuously traded their abundance of premium olive oil, textiles, and beautifully painted ceramic jars. This reciprocal exchange created a highly cooperative atmosphere throughout the islands, proving that mutual economic benefit is far more durable than any temporary military conquest. It was the ancient world's version of a highly successful international trade agreement, conducted without any stressful corporate boardrooms. For many generations, the magnificent Minoan civilization on the island of Crete had completely dominated these lucrative Aegean trade routes with their spectacular palaces and massive navy. However, by the dawn of the 15th century before the Common Era, the balance of economic power began to shift quite dramatically and silently toward the Greek mainland. The Mycenaeans did not launch a massive, destructive invasion to overthrow their island neighbors. Rather, they gradually and smoothly integrated themselves into the existing Minoan commercial networks. They learned advanced seafaring techniques and administrative secrets from Crete, adopting the best elements of island culture. This peaceful cultural transition was highly effective, and by approximately 1450, before the Common Era, Mycenaean administrators were running the great palace of Knossos themselves. They did not destroy the beautiful Minoan art or silence the local traditions. Instead, they combined island elegance with mainland structural organization to create a magnificent new style. It was the ancient equivalent of a friendly corporate merger, resulting in an incredibly wealthy, unified maritime empire that stretched across the entire eastern Mediterranean basin. This historic transition allowed the stone kingdoms of the mainland to enter their absolute golden age of prosperity. You can feel a deep sense of calm as you contemplate this harmonious flow of history, realizing that major changes do not always require chaotic conflict. The rise of the mainland palaces happened with the same quiet certainty that brings the changing tides or the slow turning of the constellations at night. The ancient sailors slept peacefully in their wooden bunks at night, trusting the gentle rhythm of the waves to carry them toward wealthy new horizons. Their shared prosperity brought a long, beautiful era of security and artistic achievement to every corner of the Aegean world. The massive wealth generated by this expanded island trade allowed the mainland rulers to transform their palaces into the breathtaking stone fortresses we marvel at today. They brought home exotic materials from distant lands, decorating their royal apartments with glittering gold ornaments, polished stones, and vibrant wall paintings depicting peaceful natural scenes. The quiet scribes in administrative courtyards recorded these incoming treasures on damp clay tablets, their styluses moving with steady, confident precision. As evening approaches over the Aegean islands, the gentle sea breeze begins to cool, carrying the fresh scent of salt water and mountain pine through open palace windows. The merchant ships drop their heavy stone anchors in protected sandy bays, their crews preparing a simple evening meal on quiet wooden decks. They watch the sunset turn the sky into a brilliant canvas of purple and gold. They felt completely at home on the gentle moonlit coastal waters. Inside the palace apartments, the kings and their advisors review the day's trade accounts, completely satisfied with the steady growth of their regional influence. They listen to the distant sound of waves crashing softly against the harbor walls below, a comforting reminder of the natural highway that connects them to the world. There are no urgent national crises to resolve, only the peaceful continuity of a well-run maritime state. You look up at the vast night sky, realizing that the very same winds blowing across your room tonight carried ancient ships to distant shores thousands of years ago. The physical empires have faded into the mists of time, but the natural currents of the sea and air continue their eternal movements across our planet. History is a living rhythm that continues to surround us with its timeless, soothing presence. Your body sinks deeper into the soft cushions of your bed as the peaceful spirit of the ancient Aegean surrounds you with absolute tranquility. You are completely safe in your modern sanctuary, entirely disconnected from the noisy distractions of the day. Let the steady image of a gentle wooden ship gliding across calm, moonlit waters soothe your remaining thoughts, turning them into soft, peaceful dreams. There is absolutely nothing else you need to do tonight except relax and breathe in the deep, restorative darkness of the peaceful night. The soft whisper of the coastal wind carries the ancient memories of sailors and merchants who built a grand civilization through cooperation and patient exploration. They rest soundly beneath the sun-baked soil of the islands, but their peaceful legacy still echoes through the long centuries to comfort our minds tonight. Allow yourself to surrender completely to this deep, beautiful silence, knowing that you are securely anchored in a safe harbor. The late afternoon sun throws a warm, golden blanket over the rocky citadel of Mycenae, illuminating the massive stone fortifications that stand like timeless titans against the sky. You walk slowly along the base of these monumental walls, your hand brushing against the rough, weathered limestone blocks that have gripped each other tightly for over 3,000 years. There is an incredible grounding weight to this ancient architecture that settles deeply into your spirit. This ancient architecture does not feel like cold, dead construction at all, but rather like a living, breathing entity that has quietly observed the entire rise and fall of human generations. As you look upward, you notice how the enormous boulders, some weighing several tons, are fitted together with remarkable precision, without a single drop of mortar to hold them in place. The entire structure radiates a profound sense of absolute, enduring stability. The sheer scale of the engineering is deeply humbling, forcing your modern mind to slow down and appreciate a time when construction was measured in centuries rather than frantic fiscal quarters. It feels as though the massive walls are gently absorbing the remaining heat of the Mediterranean day, storing that golden energy safely within their rocky core. This slow, natural process beautifully mirrors the exact way your tired body now prepares itself for a long night of deep rest. The stone now radiates a soft, comforting warmth that wraps around you like an old, familiar wool blanket, shielding you from the cool evening breeze as the ancient world settles into dark. You can completely trust the immense strength of these ancient foundations, letting your mind release the heavy burdens of the day. Just like the quiet citadel settling into the dark, you are free to let go and sink deeper into a state of total serene relaxation under the stars. You eventually find yourself standing before the legendary Lion Gate, the magnificent main entrance to the citadel that has served as the ultimate symbol of Mycenaean royal majesty since the ancient Bronze Age. Two beautifully carved stone lionesses stand proudly above the heavy lintel, their powerful bodies flanking a central sacred column that represents the absolute stability and divine protection of the kingdom below. They look incredibly peaceful under the soft, darkening evening skies. They do not look fierce or aggressive in this soft twilight. Instead, they appear as calm, noble guardians watching over a long-forgotten peace that still lingers within the heavy stone threshold. It is a fascinating historical truth that classical Greeks who lived centuries later looked upon these staggering ruins with absolute awe, genuinely believing that ordinary human hands could never have built them. The incredible monument seems to exist completely outside of normal time. They looked at the massive limestone blocks and concluded that only the legendary Cyclopes, a mythical race of one-eyed giants possessing superhuman strength, could possibly have lifted such weights into the sky. It shows that human beings have always loved inventing grand, magical stories whenever they encounter something truly magnificent that defies easy explanation. Tonight, you can let go of explanations completely and simply trust the solid protective embrace of this ancient stone sanctuary. In reality, these monumental cyclopean walls were built by hundreds of highly skilled human bronze workers, engineering specialists, and patient laborers who understood the deep structural secrets of leverage and balance. They used nothing but thick wooden rollers, heavy ropes, and the incredible collective power of human cooperation to slowly slide these massive stones into their permanent positions on the rocky hillside. This historical reality is far more beautiful than any myth, proving that when ordinary people work together in perfect harmony, they can create something so durable that even time itself cannot destroy it. The completion of these massive, beautifully fortified citadels marked the absolute peak of the Mycenaean stone kingdoms, an era of supreme confidence, unmatched wealth, and complete regional stability. From these secure hilltop fortresses, the High Kings managed vast agricultural territories, supervised international trade networks, and collected the rich wealth of the Mediterranean world into their royal storehouses. The massive walls were not built out of desperate fear of immediate invasion, but rather as an enduring statement of permanent success, ensuring the kingdom's legacy would stand forever under the stars. You feel a profound sense of serenity as you contemplate this historical high point, realizing that true strength doesn't have to be loud, aggressive, or chaotic to be effective. The great stone kingdoms reached their magnificent maturity through careful organization, patient craftsmanship, and a deep respect for the natural materials provided by the earth. The monumental walls don't rush to prove their power to anyone. They simply exist, standing as silent, magnificent monuments to a time when humanity built things to last for eternity. As the twilight deepens into a rich, dark velvet blue, the great stone fortresses of the Peloponnese begin to quiet down completely, wrapping themselves in long, cool evening shadows that stretch peacefully across the entire valley. The wild birds that nested securely inside the deep cyclopean walls finish their last evening songs, quietly tucking their small heads beneath their wings in the absolute safety of the monumental masonry. The whole earth settles into a restorative rest. You can feel the entire landscape settling into a deep, restorative rest, completely protected by the enduring embrace of these ancient stone giants that know exactly how to watch over the dark night. These massive limestone blocks have witnessed thousands of quiet evenings just like this one, absorbing the cool night air and radiating a profound sense of permanence. They teach us that true strength lies in quiet patience, inviting your mind to release its remaining worries to the dark. Inside your own modern room, you are just as safe and beautifully protected as the ancient kings who slept soundly behind the massive walls of Mycenae thousands of years ago. The heavy burdens and modern stresses of your day cannot penetrate the quiet sanctuary you have created for yourself tonight. Let the timeless, unshakable image of the ancient limestone walls soothe your mind, anchoring your thoughts in a deep, beautiful space of absolute security and total, undisturbed relaxation. The soft hum of the evening wind continues its steady, comforting melody, whispering through the lion gate and carrying the ancient memories of a magnificent golden age into the quiet present. The giants of myth may fade away, but the beautiful reality of human achievement remains permanently carved into the very bones of the Greek landscape to comfort us. Allow yourself to surrender completely to this deep, restorative darkness, trusting that the ancient stones will keep their silent, faithful watch while you sleep soundly through the night. The deep blue waters of the eastern Mediterranean stretch out like a vast, shimmering silk mirror beneath a warm and cloudless summer sky. You watch a royal Mycenaean envoy step aboard a sleek, dark-hulled galley, carrying precious diplomatic gifts from the High King to rulers living far beyond the hazy horizon. This is not a ship of war equipped for violent conquest, but a peaceful vehicle of statecraft moving gracefully along established trade routes to connect different worlds together. The ancient Bronze Age was a remarkably interconnected era, where distant monarchs wrote friendly letters to each other, referring to one another as beloved brothers in their official correspondence. These powerful kings understood that true lasting influence was achieved through sophisticated diplomacy and wealthy commercial networks rather than through constant destructive warfare. Their long maritime expeditions traveled regularly to the wealthy copper markets of Cyprus, the bustling coastal ports of the Levant, and magnificent sun-drenched courts. They arrived in the grand reception halls of New Kingdom Egypt to strengthen these vital royal connections. In these magnificent palaces, Mycenaean ambassadors proudly presented beautifully painted stirrup jars filled with rare mainland perfumes and premium olive oil. In return, they received exotic elephant ivory, glittering gold jewelry, and royal scarabs that brought the sophisticated style of the Nile back to the Greek hillsides, enriching the cultural life of the grand stone citadels. This continuous flow of wealth and art created a beautiful golden age of security, stability, and remarkable artistic achievement across the entire peninsula. As you listen to the gentle rhythm of this ancient voyage, you can feel your own mind drifting along those calm historical waters. Let the peaceful imagery of this ancient interconnected world wrap around you like a soft blanket, guiding your thoughts toward a deep, restorative, and perfectly secure night of rest. The steady exchange of precious goods created a shared cultural language among Bronze Age rulers, strengthening trust across remarkable distances. You can picture a royal banquet where guests raise imported Egyptian cups filled with sweet wine while listening to tales carried by merchants from distant shores. Trade became more than commerce, encouraging lasting friendships, mutual respect, and peaceful cooperation between kingdoms that depended on one another for prosperity and stability. Within this beautifully connected world, the celebrated story of ancient Troy quietly emerged as one of history's greatest and most captivating mysteries. For many long centuries, people believed the dramatic tale of the Trojan War belonged entirely to poetry, crafted by gifted storytellers, rather than grounded in actual reality. Yet the enduring legend stubbornly persisted, passed carefully from generation to generation, inspiring deep curiosity about whether a forgotten historical truth rested beneath the verses that echoed across the Mediterranean. Modern archaeology has recently added remarkable depth to this enduring mystery, transforming our shared understanding of the ancient past. Excavations at the archaeological layer known as Troy 7A uncovered convincing physical evidence of violent destruction dating precisely to the closing years of the Late Bronze Age. These fascinating discoveries strongly suggest that Homer's famous epics may preserve a distant, faded memory of an actual conflict, perhaps deeply rooted in regional trade, complex diplomacy, and intense commercial rivalry. This ancient struggle was slowly transformed over centuries of oral storytelling into one of humanity's most enduring legendary stories. Tonight, you can let go of the long-forgotten battles and ancient rivalries, focusing instead on the quiet mystery of time itself. Let the soothing rhythm of history wash over your mind, knowing that the secrets of the past are safely locked away. You are perfectly secure, free to drift into a deep, restorative sleep beneath the stars. This ancient struggle was likely fought not for a legendary queen, but for control of the valuable trade routes leading into the Black Sea. As competition for essential resources increased, Mycenaean rulers may have united in a powerful alliance to protect their maritime access against determined rivals. Across the centuries, economic ambitions gradually transformed into heroic legends, turning practical conflicts into unforgettable tales that still capture imaginations and symbolize the dramatic closing chapter of the Bronze Age. As you reflect on this interconnected world, a gentle feeling of peace begins to settle within you. Human history reveals countless moments of cooperation, exchange, and shared purpose alongside conflict. Merchants, sailors, and rulers depended upon one another across great distances, creating relationships that allowed knowledge, culture, and prosperity to travel together. Their journeys remind you that civilizations flourished not through isolation, but through trust, communication, and enduring partnerships across the ancient seas. The sailors who crossed wide, open waters navigated beneath the same familiar stars shining above you tonight. They faced distant horizons with quiet confidence, believing welcoming harbors and friendly kingdoms awaited beyond the waves. Let that timeless certainty soothe your thoughts as you drift toward restful sleep, feeling connected to generations of travelers whose peaceful voyages helped weave the vast and enduring story of our shared human history together. The soft evening breeze gently rustles your curtains, carrying your thoughts away from the busy modern world back to the quiet deck of that ancient diplomatic vessel. The heavy rowing oars are pulled inside, and the large square sail is tucked away as the ship rests in a peaceful coastal bay. The sailors sleep soundly beneath warm stars, completely confident in their safe journey home. Inside your own comfortable room, you are completely safe, wrapped in a quiet blanket of peace that gently shields you from every remaining care of the day. The mighty kings, bustling ports, and far-reaching alliances of the Bronze Age have long faded into history, yet the enduring spirit of human connection still lives on. Let the peaceful image of a small ship resting calmly within a sheltered harbor ease your thoughts, inviting your mind into gentle dreams and deep, restful sleep. The steady hum of the night continues its quiet, comforting melody, carrying you toward complete relaxation as the ancient story softly prepares to unfold its next chapter. Though the golden age of the great kings slowly fades into twilight, the stars, the wind, and the earth continue their timeless rhythm without interruption. Trust the gentle darkness surrounding you now, allowing it to cradle your body and mind as you drift peacefully into deep, restorative sleep until morning. You are free to release your thoughts completely, turning them into soft, peaceful dreams of the past. There is absolutely nothing else you need to focus on tonight except your own deep, relaxing breath. Sleep soundly now, wrapped in the timeless, peaceful rhythm of an ancient world that knew exactly how to rest beneath the stars. You are safe, you are protected, and you are entirely at peace in your own quiet sanctuary tonight. A quiet, solemn stillness settles over the grand citadels of Greece as the long afternoon shadows stretch across the empty stone courtyards. You stand within the central megaron, the great royal hall where powerful kings once feasted, but the crackling fire has long since burned down to soft, cool gray ash. There are no dramatic armies or sudden catastrophic battles wiping out the kingdom in a single day, as romantic storytellers often like to imagine. Instead, modern archaeological research reveals a far more gradual, complex dissolution, a slow fading of power that happened over several decades like a lamp running out of oil. A series of powerful earthquakes struck the Peloponnese during the late 13th century, leaving deep scars across the magnificent citadels of Mycenae. Massive cyclopean walls cracked open, wooden roofs collapsed completely, and carefully engineered water systems suffered serious, lasting damage. What had once seemed unshakable suddenly appeared highly vulnerable, placing an enormous strain on a civilization that had spent generations building secure stone strongholds. Repairs restored many structures, yet confidence in their absolute stability quietly began to weaken across the region. At nearly the same time, Evidence preserved within ancient lake sediments points to a prolonged drought spreading across the eastern Mediterranean. The fertile plains of the Argolid slowly turned dry beneath relentless sunshine, while harvests became increasingly uncertain. The palace administration struggled to respond as fields yielded less grain each season, creating growing pressure on communities that depended upon stable agriculture for their prosperity, security, and everyday survival throughout the region. You can imagine farmers watching the empty skies with quiet hope, waiting for familiar winter rains that never arrived. Day after day, the landscape became harsher, and each failed harvest deepened uncertainty about the future. The once thriving countryside gradually transformed into a fragile world where resilience replaced abundance, reminding us how closely every great civilization depended upon the delicate balance between humanity and the natural rhythms of the earth. This devastating agricultural collapse quickly triggered a massive domino effect that completely shattered the fragile international trade routes connecting Greece to the wider Bronze Age world. With no surplus olive oil or fine textiles to export, the Mycenaean palaces could no longer afford to import the essential copper and tin needed to manufacture bronze tools. The globalized supply chain completely ground to a halt, leaving luxury workshops empty and royal scribes sitting silently in their courtyards with nothing left to record. It was an ancient economic depression, happening so slowly and deeply that it felt like a heavy, exhausting winter settling permanently over the land. As the central palace system failed to provide food and security, the delicate social fabric holding these independent kingdoms together began to unravel quite naturally. Small groups of hungry and frustrated people left the vulnerable valley towns, moving up into the remote mountains or migrating toward the coast in search of completely new lives. This historical transition was not a chaotic end of humanity, but rather a practical, necessary reorganization of society away from rigid royal control. The resilient people were simply adapting to a changing planet, trading the heavy burdens of empire for the quiet freedom of simpler, self-sufficient farming lives. They built new communities where cooperation replaced coercion, planting crops that fed their families rather than filling the deep storehouses of distant kings. This shift allowed a deep sense of relief to settle over the landscape, as the frantic pace of imperial ambition gave way to a calmer reality. This systemic collapse was not unique to Greece. It was part of a fascinating historical phenomenon known as the Late Bronze Age collapse around 1200 BCE, which reshaped magnificent empires and transformed major cities across the entire Eastern Mediterranean within a few short generations. Across the entire Eastern Mediterranean, magnificent empires like the Hittites vanished entirely, and major cities from the Levant to Egypt were abandoned or deeply transformed within a few short generations. It was the ultimate systemic reset for human civilization, a giant historical palate cleanser. This profound transformation proved that no empire, no matter how grand, can outlast the natural laws of the earth. You can smile at this timeless lesson, realizing that nature always reclaims its balance in the end. Just as the ancient world found peace after the palaces fell, your mind can let go of its worries tonight. You are safe in your own sanctuary, perfectly free to drift into a deep, restorative, and beautiful sleep. You feel a profound sense of serenity as you contemplate this quiet transition, recognizing that the silence of the palaces is not a tragedy, but a natural resting phase. The massive limestone walls did not disappear. They simply stepped out of the busy spotlight of history to become peaceful guardians of the landscape. The people did not vanish. They learned to live in smaller, flexible communities that moved with the changing weather, rather than the commands of a distant king. This adaptive resilience is the true beauty of the human story, showing that we always find a way to endure. The evening wind now wanders freely through the open stone doorways of Mycenae, carrying the sweet scent of wild sage and cooling earth through the abandoned royal chambers. There are no frantic royal edicts to obey, no complex trade balances to maintain, and no digital notifications creating artificial urgency in the deep darkness. The entire peninsula is resting deeply after centuries of intense building and busy commerce, wrapping itself in a comfortable blanket of absolute silence and total peace. You can let go of your own daily worries, letting them dissolve into the vast, calm ocean of time. Inside your modern room, you are perfectly safe and entirely secure, deeply insulated from the constant shifts and unpredictable changes of the outside world. The silent stones of the past remind us that every heavy burden eventually passes, leaving behind nothing but a quiet, beautiful space for rest and renewal. Let the soothing image of the quiet, moonlit citadels calm your mind, anchoring your thoughts in a state of total relaxation and complete serenity. There is absolutely nothing left for you to do tonight, but close your eyes and sleep soundly through the night. The soft hum of the universe continues its steady, comforting song, whispering that the darkness is a safe place where history and modern life peacefully meet. The ancient palaces grew silent so that the earth could breathe deeply once again, and you can follow their wise example by surrendering completely to the night. Allow yourself to slide easily into a deep, restorative sleep, trusting that the morning will bring a gentle new light to the world. Sleep deeply now, wrapped in the timeless, quiet rhythm of the peaceful night. The soft light of a silver moon bathes the ruined citadels in a gentle, ethereal glow, softening the sharp edges of the collapsed limestone blocks. You observe a small, quiet family gathering around a modest stone hearth built directly inside the shadow of the monumental Cyclopean walls. These are not grand royals or wealthy merchants, but humble, self-sufficient farmers who have chosen to remain close to the ancient bones of the past, finding a deep sense of security here. They do not look upon the massive ruins with fear or sadness. Instead, they treat the giant stones as a natural, comforting part of their everyday landscape, using them to shelter their small flocks from the chilly night wind. Life moves at an incredibly slow, deliberate pace in these smaller settlements, completely detached from the complex economic networks and heavy taxation of the old palace bureaucracy. The people have traded the stressful burdens of empire for a much simpler way of living. There are no royal scribes demanding inventories of grain, and no royal overseers checking the work of the bronze smiths in the courtyards. The resilient people grow just enough barley for their immediate needs, tend a few loyal olive trees, and spin wool by the gentle light of simple oil lamps. It is a wonderfully uncomplicated existence, an ancient version of off-grid country living that prioritizes quiet survival and family peace over the frantic demands of a global empire. As the generations pass quietly like autumn leaves falling in the oak forests, the true historical names of the old kings gradually fade from human memory. The grand administrative records written on clay tablets are buried deep beneath the dark earth, leaving behind nothing but a rich, beautiful tapestry of spoken stories told around the evening fire. Through these late-night tales, the flesh and blood rulers of the Bronze Age are slowly transformed into larger-than-life heroes under the stars. The ancient rulers become mighty demigods and legendary figures possessing magical powers. History softly dissolves into beautiful mythology, creating a comforting dream world where the past and the supernatural gracefully dance together. Tonight, you can allow your own mind to drift into that same gentle world of myth and memory. Let go of all your modern worries, trust the safety of your surroundings, and slide into a deep, restorative, and perfectly peaceful sleep in your dark room. Despite the deep silence that uniquely characterized this transitional era, modern archaeological and linguistic research has clearly revealed that the bright flame of Mycenaean culture was never truly extinguished. Scholars studying the Dark Ages of Greece have discovered that essential elements of religious worship, artistic style, and agricultural technology continued without a single break. The ancient traditions remained alive in small communities, quietly preserved by generations of families who kept the old ways close to their hearts. The sacred names of ancient Olympian deities like Poseidon, Athena, and Dionysus, which were originally recorded on the Linear B clay tablets, survived perfectly in the hearts of the common people. This cultural continuity acted as a sturdy, invisible bridge, carrying the precious soul of the Bronze Age directly into the brilliant future world of classical Greece. The stories did not vanish into the dark. They simply waited for a new dawn to rise once again. You can feel a deep, soothing sense of comfort as you contemplate this enduring resilience, realizing that true civilization is not found in grand palaces, but in the quiet habits of ordinary people. Tonight, you can rest your mind upon that same unshakable foundation of human endurance, letting go of all your modern worries. You are perfectly safe in your room, entirely free to slide into a deep, restorative, and beautiful sleep beneath the quiet stars. You can feel a deep, soothing sense of comfort as you contemplate this enduring resilience, realizing that true civilization is not found in grand palaces, but in the quiet habits of the ordinary people. The great stone kingdoms crumbled, but the beautiful language, the timeless stories, and the sacred traditions safely survived the temporary darkness because they were deeply loved and carefully protected. True strength belongs to the gentle rhythms of everyday life that outlast every empire. The ancient hills continue to welcome the brilliant Mediterranean sunrise with the exact same quiet majesty they possessed millions of years ago, completely indifferent to the changing fortunes of human empires. The natural world remains entirely stable, providing a beautiful foundation for humanity to repeatedly reinvent itself. Tonight, you can rest upon that same unshakable foundation, letting your mind settle into a state of total peace, absolute security, and deep, restorative sleep. The cool night breeze blows gently across the dark ridges of the Peloponnese, carrying the sweet scent of wild chamomile through quiet valleys. Small farming families sleep deeply and securely in rustic homes, completely undisturbed by historical transformations occurring silently around them. There are no urgent crises to keep them awake, no digital notifications fracturing their limited attention, only the long, profoundly peaceful night. You can feel yourself sinking deeper into your own comfortable bed, letting go of your modern worries as you connect with this ancient, unhurried way of being. This simple lifestyle reminds us that the truest peace is found when we tune out the noise of the world and align ourselves with the slow, steady movements of nature. Like the ancient farmers resting after a long day of honest work, you are free to quiet your busy mind. Inside your modern sanctuary, you are perfectly safe and entirely protected, wrapped in a warm blanket of complete peace that shields you from the chaotic noise of the outer world. The forgotten stones of Mycenae remind us that even when grand systems change, the simple, beautiful rhythms of life always find a way to continue without a single pause. You do not need to carry the weight of the entire world on your shoulders tonight. Let the calming image of the quiet, moonlit hills soothe your remaining thoughts, transforming them into soft, peaceful dreams of a timeless world that knows exactly how to endure. There is absolutely nothing else you need to focus on tonight except your own calm, resting breath. Each slow inhale fills you with deep tranquility, and each gentle exhale releases the tension from your body, preparing you for a night of wonderful healing and deep sleep. The steady hum of the evening wind continues its comforting song, whispering that the darkness is merely preparation for a magnificent new dawn. The ancient echoes among the forgotten stones are gentle lullabies guiding you toward total, serene relaxation. Surrender completely to this deep, restorative silence, trusting that the universe will keep you safe and secure throughout the long, dark night. The dark velvet night stretches quietly over the rolling hills of Greece, holding the ancient land in a warm and completely undisturbed embrace. You step forward through the long centuries, arriving at a time when the ruins of Mycenae have already become legendary landmarks shrouded in thick mystery. In the dim, flickering light of a communal courtyard fire, an ancient traveling poet named Homer clears his throat, plucking a single resonant note on his wooden lyre. The small crowd falls entirely silent, leaning forward eagerly to hear captivating stories of a brilliant golden age when kings ruled from stone palaces and bronze weapons flashed under the Mediterranean sun. These grand tales of the Trojan War and the long voyages of heroes were not written down in heavy textbooks. They were preserved entirely within the collective memory of generations of spoken storytellers. For hundreds of years, the real history of the Mycenaean Empire had been carefully passed down from mouth to ear, changing ever so slightly with each retelling, like a polished stone smoothed by a river. The old structural details of the palaces and the exact names of regional rulers were seamlessly blended with vivid artistic imagination, heroic drama, and divine intervention. History and myth quietly dissolved into one another, creating a beautiful tapestry of national identity that allowed the modern Greeks to remember their magnificent ancestors. Through these brilliant epic poems, the memory of Mycenae was kept vibrantly alive, serving as a powerful cultural anchor for the entire classical world through periods of intense social change. The magnificent physical citadels lay buried beneath layers of dark earth and wild grass, but their legendary spirits continued to inspire the greatest philosophers, playwrights, and artists of Athens and Sparta. The ancient Greeks looked to the mythic heroes of the Bronze Age as timeless examples of courage, honor, and human excellence, never suspecting that the real history was far more organized and bureaucratic than their stories suggested. It was a beautiful form of cultural preservation, ensuring that the stone kingdoms would never truly die. For thousands of years, modern historians generally assumed that Homer's spectacular descriptions of wealthy, gold-rich Mycenae were nothing more than brilliant works of poetic fiction and romantic imagination. However, a dramatic historical shift occurred in the late 19th century when a passionate and eccentric German businessman named Heinrich Schliemann arrived in the Peloponnese with a shovel and an unshakable faith. He was absolutely determined to uncover the truth buried deep within the dark, ancient earth. Guided entirely by the specific geographic clues hidden within the timeless pages of the Iliad, he began executing massive archaeological excavations directly inside the legendary Lion Gate of the ruined citadel. He wanted to prove that the mythic world of Agamemnon was a real, physical, historical reality. Tonight, you can let your mind rest, knowing that secrets of the past are safely found. You are perfectly secure, free to drift into a deep, restorative sleep. To the absolute astonishment of the global scientific community, Schliemann's workers quickly uncovered a series of spectacular deep shaft graves containing the wealthy remains of an elite ruling class. Tucked away inside these stone tombs lay hundreds of breathtaking artifacts, including beautifully crafted bronze swords, intricate gold jewelry, and delicate silver vessels that had remained untouched for millennia. The absolute crown jewel of the entire excavation was a magnificent beaten gold funeral mask resting gently over the skull of an ancient king, its delicate features frozen in an eternal expression of royal majesty. Schliemann famously proclaimed that he had gazed upon the face of Agamemnon himself, bridging the gap between myth and science. While modern archaeologists have since proven that this golden mask actually belonged to a ruler who lived centuries before the legendary Trojan War, the spectacular discovery forever changed our understanding of human history. It proved that beneath the rich layers of mythology lay a highly sophisticated, incredibly wealthy Bronze Age civilization that matched the grand scale of any ancient empire. You can smile at how a single 19th century excavation successfully transformed romantic legends back into tangible physical science that we can study in modern museums today. The discovery connected us directly to the ancient workers who hammered that gold, reminding us that our human story is deeply real and beautifully preserved. As you contemplate this remarkable journey from history to myth and back to archaeological science, your mind begins to lift quite naturally above the small scale of human events. You realize that the gold masks, the heavy stone walls, and the brilliant epic poems are merely tiny, beautiful moments within a much larger, infinite cosmic timeline. The high kings who wore the gold and the archaeologists who dug it up have all slipped quietly into the very same dark earth, leaving the planet to continue its slow, magnificent turning. This grand realization brings a deep sense of total serenity, showing that our personal worries are beautifully small and completely safe. The soft evening wind continues to whisper through the empty stone circles of the ancient graves, carrying the faint echoes of long-dead poets and kings into the quiet modern night. The physical artifacts rest securely under heavy glass cases in brightly lit museums, but the true spirit of Mycenae remains out here in the cool air, drifting lazily over the dark mountains. There are no modern deadlines to meet tonight, no urgent notifications to check, and no chaotic noise to disturb the profound peace of your room. You are perfectly insulated from the rushing passage of time, safe within the arms of the night. Inside your comfortable bed, you can let your remaining thoughts dissolve into this vast, calm ocean of human memory and timeless, cosmic reality. The ancient stones have seen empires rise and fall like waves crashing on a distant beach, yet they remain perfectly still and completely at peace under the unblinking stars. Let the soothing image of the golden funeral mask catching the soft moonlight in a quiet room guide your mind toward a state of total, serene relaxation. There is absolutely nothing else for you to do tonight but surrender completely to the deep, restorative darkness of the night. The steady hum of the universe continues its comforting song, whispering that you are part of an eternal, beautiful story that never truly ends. The myths of the past are merely gentle lullabies designed to comfort our minds and remind us that we are safe, secure, and deeply connected to the earth. Allow yourself to slide easily into a deep, dreamless sleep, trusting that the ancient memories will keep their quiet watch while you rest soundly through the long night. Sleep deeply now, wrapped in the timeless, gentle rhythm of history. The deep velvet darkness of the Mediterranean night expands outward into infinity, pulling your mind far away from the small, fleeting affairs of human beings. You step completely outside the narrow boundaries of historical years and decades, lifting your perspective high into the silent, majestic realm of geological time. From this grand viewpoint, the entire rise and fall of the Mycenaean stone kingdoms appears as nothing more than a tiny, brief heartbeat in the multi-million-year biography of our planet. The grand palaces that felt so permanent to the high kings are revealed to be temporary patterns on a changing earth, which breathes with its own immense, slow rhythm. The towering limestone mountains of the Peloponnese do not recognize the names of Agamemnon or the busy scribes who recorded grain inventories on fragile clay tablets. These ancient geological formations were pushed toward the sky by immense tectonic forces millions of years before the first human walked the earth. They will remain standing long after our modern cities have returned to dust. You can feel the incredible comforting stability of these sleeping stone giants, which measure their long lives by the slow movement of continents rather than the frantic schedules of human empires. They teach us that there is absolutely no need to rush, for time is an endless, patient river. You are perfectly secure, completely free to slide into a deep, restorative, and beautiful sleep tonight in your dark room. Down below the rocky cliffs, the deep blue Aegean Sea continues to roll its gentle waves against the shore with the exact same rhythmic cadence it has used for countless eras. The water does not care whether it carries a Bronze Age diplomatic galley, a Roman warship, or a modern fiberglass tourist boat along its shimmering paths. It simply flows, following the ancient pull of the moon and the steady patterns of global winds that have shaped the climate since the beginning. This eternal movement of the sea acts like a massive natural cradle, rocking the entire peninsula into a state of deep, undisturbed peace that shields you from the frantic noise of the outer world. The rhythmic sound of the water washing over smooth pebbles creates a gentle lullaby, washing away the lingering thoughts of your busy day. You can imagine yourself standing on that quiet shore, feeling the cool night air touch your skin as the vast ocean stretches into the dark. Everything in this ancient landscape is aligned to help you let go of your modern burdens completely. There are no responsibilities left to manage, no notifications to answer, and no pressures to face until the morning sun rises. The universe is watching over you, ensuring that your sanctuary remains perfectly safe and quiet throughout the night. Surrender to the heavy, comforting blanket of sleep, trusting that you are exactly where you need to be, safe, still, and entirely at peace. You realize with a profound sense of inner serenity that every great empire, no matter how magnificent or wealthy, eventually dissolves back into the beautiful embrace of nature. The proud royal dynasties, the sophisticated international trade networks, and the fiercely guarded territorial borders all soften and fade away like morning mist under the warm Mediterranean sun. This natural dissolution is not a tragic failure, but rather a necessary, beautiful return to absolute balance, allowing the earth to refresh itself continuously. Nature always reclaims its creations, transforming the grand monuments of human ambition into peaceful sanctuaries where wild thyme grows and birds build their nests. Yet, amidst this grand cosmic dance of change and renewal, the massive cyclopean stones of Mycenae still remain right where human hands placed them thousands of years ago. They rest patiently on the darkened hillsides under the stars, their rough limestone surfaces catching the cool dew of the night and the soft, silver light of distant galaxies. These ancient blocks have become an inseparable part of the natural mountain itself, standing as silent, faithful monuments to a brief moment when humanity worked in perfect harmony with the raw materials of the earth. They do not demand attention or beg to be remembered. They simply exist, content to watch over the quiet valley. You can let your mind rest alongside them, safe, secure, and ready to drift into a deep, restorative, and peaceful sleep tonight. The evening breeze blows softly through the empty lion gate, carrying no words, no stories, and no memories from the past, only the pure, fresh scent of the open sea. The long human narrative quietly drops its heavy weights, letting the simple, elemental voices of the wind, the waves, and the silence take over the room completely. You can feel the boundaries of your modern everyday self softening quite beautifully, melting into the vast, calm ocean surrounding you. The timeless universe that surrounds your bed tonight offers a quiet sanctuary from the frantic demands of the outer world. There are no more historical puzzles to solve, no modern responsibilities to manage, and no digital distractions to pull at your mind. Everything is perfectly still, aligned with the slow, steady breathing of the dark earth. You are allowed to let go completely, trusting that your body and mind are completely protected in this beautiful healing space. As the deep velvet night wraps itself around you, allow your thoughts to dissolve gracefully like morning mist over the calm Mediterranean waters. The journey through history is complete, and now it is time for your spirit to rest deeply. Feel the comforting heavy blanket of sleep descending upon your eyelids, guiding you gently into a world of peaceful, unbroken dreams. Sleep soundly now, safe in the gentle arms of the universe, until the bright new dawn arrives naturally. Inside your quiet, comfortable room, you are perfectly secure, deeply anchored in a safe sanctuary existing entirely outside the rushing pressure of worldly time. The vast cosmic timeline reminds us that our personal daily worries are wonderfully small, temporary, and safe to let go of in the dark. Let the unshakable image of ancient kingdoms sleeping beneath the stars soothe your thoughts into complete relaxation. Your long journey is finished, leaving you exactly where you belong. The soft hum of the night continues its eternal, comforting lullaby, whispering that you are a deeply loved and carefully protected part of this beautiful, turning world. The ancient stones of Greece will continue their silent, patient watch under the midnight sky while you surrender your body and mind completely to the restorative darkness. Allow yourself to slide easily into a deep, dreamless sleep, trusting that the universe will hold you safely until the arrival of a gentle, new morning dawn. The script comes to a close. Thank you all for listening.